This is Stacey McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast, where CEOs, senior leaders, and C-suite executives share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best leaders know how to share their ideas concisely and quickly. Let's jump right in. Question number 1. In a few sentences, please tell me who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hi there, Stacey. My name is Peter Walmsley, and I'm the Chief People Officer for GSN Games, based in Boston, and I lead the HR team on a global basis across our business. I'm originally from London and have spent many years living and working in London, and have been fortunate enough as part of my journey to live in Paris, Madrid, Geneva in Switzerland, and then come across to the US in San Francisco, and now here in Boston. So I've had a good journey there, and really enjoy what I do.
That's amazing. I can imagine games are incredibly important right now, right?
Oh, absolutely. If you think about all the discretionary time people have had during the course of the year, a lot of people are spending more time playing games. So we're really seeing that uptick in our business. Yeah,
That's
it's been great.
fantastic. That's great to hear. Well, that leads me to question number 2, which is, through your perspective, as you think about change, what's the best thing about leading people through change?
Yeah. I think one of the really things that I like is to be able to translate the vision of what the change is all about, and translate it with a strategy into a plan, and then really start to see people looking at understanding the nature of their change, and what part that they can actually play in it, and and then starting to see people feel their way, and over time embrace the change. So for me, it's really from that vision right down to the practical application of seeing people move and do something different as a result of what's being communicated to them. That's what really the passion I have around it.
You paint a pretty picture there. I kind of just see the transformation even in their eyes when they go from, the resistance of why do we need to do this to the awareness of like what difference this will make, and, the ease with which the change occurs after that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you think about it from a leadership perspective, is really our role is really to help translate what that change is all about and how it will help people in the future, and help people on that journey. That's how I see it.
So, with that in mind, what piece of advice would you give to other leaders about implementing change?
I'd actually give them two things. I think the first would be around just communicate. It's often said that during the process of change, leaders may communicate once, think they've articulated it, the change, and then think, right, get on with it. And so what I would say is for leaders is at every stage, every step, talk to people, understand how they're thinking and feeling, and what ideas, what issues they might have to help the change be more effective. The second part I would say for leaders is trust your people. And by that, what I mean is too often change is done to people rather than really helping people to be part of the change. And
Mm.
in my experience, the more you're open, the more you're transparent, the more people you realize that people are mature in general and can understand the nature of the change. And if you communicate it well to them, then they'll be far more likely to come halfway, meet you halfway, try it out, and give you some feedback along the way. For me, resistance is often about lack of communication. So the key is communicate and trust your people and give
Mm.
them the opportunity to succeed.
I love that idea of, oftentimes the change is happening to them
Mm,
versus, wrapping them in, right, as you suggest, and then they become
absolutely.
stewards of it, and heck, they might even become champions and cheerleaders for the idea, and then you just have to like, stand back and get out of
Yeah.
their way versus feel like you have to push them forward.
Absolutely, and they may well have better ideas than you've had, and they will also. I know, perish the thought, but they may well have that a great practical application that will help drive the change quicker through their particular area of work. So
So it might surprise you to know I often hear from other leaders that keeping teams engaged remotely can be a challenge, right?
mm-hmm.
That managers are stressed out, they're not able to see their teams, they're not able to do kind of that drive-by accountability
Mm-hmm.
thing that they love to do, and it's driving them crazy, right? And then they're starting to drive their team crazy with
Mm-hmm.
check-ins. Tell me your thoughts about this. What are you experiencing?
Um, but I think it's gone well for us, and obviously particularly with this year, we were able to pivot to being virtual pretty quickly, and I think if anything, what it has done, we've seen good levels of engagement with people. And I think what we've done is a couple of things. One is I think there's more listening going on. If you think about the when you're all in the office, you have a quick one-to-one or a regular meeting, it's quick, go. Now, I think, Jeff, what I'm seeing with a lot of people is that people are spending a little bit more time to listen and understand more about the individual, what they're going through and how they're thinking and feeling about it. And I think that translates into people genuinely believing that the company and leaders are there to help and support them. And the other thing we've done, but through listening and reading the signs, is we've given people random time out, given people time to go and talk to their families, spend time away from work. So we've tried from a leadership perspective to model the behavior of, listening, observing, and then just acknowledging that, yeah, it is stressful, but every now and then let's give people downtime, unplanned, just go and spend it with your family and do something different. And I think that actually helps people to understand that their leaders are being empathetic with them and understand some of the nature of what's going on in their personal lives. And from my own perspective, I know more about my team on their personal lives, how they're doing this last year than I would say in the previous years, because you've got more time and by genuinely listening more to how they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and it makes you guys, it feels more human coming from, being said that way, right? The leadership
Absolutely.
is human. We've got our issues and challenges too. So listening with that
Yeah.
empathetic ear,
Yeah.
assuming we don't know everything.
No, and that's the thing. Rather than try and be prescriptive about here's all the solutions, spending time to listen and understand, and then see how we can address it as leaders. That's the key to, I think, to really ensure that people stay engaged and switched on during these difficult times. Yeah.
So then, what daily practice is most important to you as a leader? If you think of like a regular thing, a habit, what's one thing that's a daily practice is important?
Yeah. Well, every time you ask me for one thing, I'll give you two. So my boss actually said to me a while ago, which I thought was a good reflection point, was think about how you want to show up on a day-by-day basis. As a leader, there's always that opportunity. You come to work, you may not be feeling your best, but people watch you, people listen. And so it's very important that you before you come to work, take time to reflect, really think about how you're going to show up today, to be positive, constructive, supportive to people. Take time to listen and forget and suspend whatever's in your head and that's going on in your private life. And I thought that was great advice, actually. And I have tried to practice that. And the other thing that I do, I make sure I start every day with 2 cups of Yorkshire tea. So, 2 cups of tea. Clearly, I'm English. And so, yeah, that sets my day off to a flying start, having those 2 cups of tea. So.
That sounds lovely. I could go for one of those right now.
Yes, exactly. So could I.
All right. Magic question number 6 for you. What other
Okay.
successful business leaders like yourself should be on the podcast? Who else should we be paying attention to?
I mean, I probably haven't looked at the complete list, but I think on the game side, there's a lot of good leaders in companies like Electronic Arts, Zinger, people like that, who I think have also tackled a lot of the issues around change and engagement right now. I think they're global as well, and I think that has a great dimension. But the other thing I've noticed through some of the other forums I've been on this year, there's a lot of new businesses, and I can't necessarily think of them off the top of my head, but actually because they're new and they've grown up in this year, they've got a completely different perspective on how to structure work and how to think about their employees. And I think it's tapping in, getting the mixture of some of those more established companies with a blend of some of the newer companies and thinking through and listening to them about how they're dealing with some of this. I think that's going to be quite interesting.
I love that. Great advice out there. Well, thank you so much for being on this show. I really appreciate all your time and your insights. I'm curious if somebody wanted to reach out and introduce themselves, how might they find you?
Best way is email. I tend to be an email junkie, so it's pw61@me.com.
Fantastic. Well, I'll be sure to put that in the description for everybody who wants to reach out. And again, we really appreciate your time today and on the show. Of
Thanks very
course.
much, Stacey. Enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is Stacey McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast. For more ideas and insights, please do go check us out at www.concilioteam.com. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.